welcome back to the Global Goals Studio. We're discussing the business case for sustainability. Nancy Mon, Estee Lauder is a family-founded company. How does that inform the company's decision to embed both being eco-friendly, responsible, with social impact into its core principles?
Thanks for that great question. So William Lauder, our chairman, often talks about patient capital, which is essentially, even though obviously we're a publicly listed company, we're not looking at our work quarter by quarter, we're looking over the longer term. And for someone like me, who runs sustainability and citizenship, that allows us to invest in programs and policies that are longer term wins. So for instance, one of the pieces we've been looking at more recently, particularly post-COVID, is how do we marry some of the work we've been doing funding girls' education globally with climate justice. We're seeing a great intersectionality between climate justice, gender justice, and just social and racial justice. And that is some of the long-term work that we're beginning now and really looking for partners.
Partnerships, come up a lot in our work, and I think it's increasingly clear on a problem like climate change that no individual organization or sector or government is going to be able to act alone. And so it is this collective action of civil society, forward-thinking business leaders, forward-thinking mayors and governors in the case of the United States here that are going to make this happen. And we're seeing real progress on the ground, which is striking. Just in the last couple years, we've grown to be about 2/3 of the U.S. population that's covered by these commitments to combating climate change, because it makes sense to do it, and the partnerships are really key.
Marissa McGowan, I'd love to bring you in here. Talking of partnerships, how does PVH work with global partners on the SDGs?
So I think this is a great question that actually gets into the role of business in these conversations. And I think to Antha's point, it is critical. Business has a role to play, a responsibility and an opportunity, but that happens in an ecosystem, and that ecosystem includes civil society, includes governments, whether federal, municipal, regional. It is critical to have all the players at the table. And I think everyone talked about partnership and collaboration, but I really feel that companies are sensing that we cannot go at this alone. And even governments are feeling that, and civil society to an extent. So I think it's hard work. It's hard work to collaborate. It's not easy to take the position you have and to come a little ways away from where you were to meet a common good. But I am so inspired by the actions we're seeing coming out of this.
And Antha Williams, Bloomberg has worked closely with the C40 Cities group. That's the network of the largest cities, the world's largest cities, committed to addressing the challenge of the climate crisis. What's the good news? How are those cities coping with this challenge?
Well, thank you so much for asking, Richard. The C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group is a network of the world's mega cities, cities that are 1 million people or larger. And these mayors are just taking incredibly bold action to combat climate change. And they're doing it not just because it's the right thing to do, but because they need to tackle these problems to deliver for the health of their citizens. So just this week, as one small example, in Jakarta, the governor of Jakarta launched a really impactful new program to monitor air pollution, figure out the sources of air pollution in the city of Jakarta, and then begin to put in place the policies to tackle that pollution. That's the kind of progress that we're seeing in major cities around the world. It's also worth noting that just like in the business sector, where we see significant impacts from climate change to up and down the supply chain, these cities are really seeing those impacts too. 90% of the world's largest cities are on coastlines. They're seeing the impacts of extreme weather events, and these mayors realize they have to do something. So they're taking that bold action now.
All right, well, please stay with us. We'll be back in a moment with our panel. This is the Global Goals Studio.
What's a citizen? It's believing in something and doing something about it, being responsible and following through on promises. We're a company of 135,000 citizens. And we have a plan to work toward a greater good, a better future to share, one that will move us all forward. Citizen Verizon, our plan for economic, environmental, and social advancement.